They say money doesn't buy happiness, and they're right. But it does buy freedom. It buys the freedom to think, to breathe, to choose. It buys the right to wake up without that cold panic gnawing at your chest. The freedom to give, to build, to create, all without the constant fear of just surviving. And yet, despite this truth, most people live their entire lives chained to scarcity. Not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack the mental architecture to handle abundance. The tragedy isn't that wealth is rare. The tragedy is that wealth is misunderstood. People chase it like a mirage sprinting through deserts of distraction, chasing images of cars, houses, and watches, without ever realizing the oasis was never outside of them. It was buried deep in their thoughts, their habits, their philosophies. You see, the poor and the wealthy are not divided by luck. They're divided by logic. They do not see the same world. To one person, every dollar is an escape rope, a way to get by. To the other, every dollar is a seed, a chant to grow another tree of prosperity. One spends to feel rich, the other invests to become rich. One asks, how much does it cost? The other asks, what is their return? And that difference, that subtle, invisible shift in mental wiring, is what builds empires or buries potential. The average person has been taught to survive, not to succeed. From childhood, we were programmed to seek comfort, to obey, to fit in. Schools taught us how to pass tests, not how to pass trials. Parents, out of love, warned us about risk, never realizing that safety was the most dangerous addiction of all. Society conditioned us to earn just enough to stay afloat, but never enough to be free. And so, most people failed to build wealth not because they lack intelligence, but because they were never trained to think like creators. They were trained to think like consumers. They've been conditioned to trade their time for money, never realizing that time is the most expensive currency in the universe. But while true wealth begins long before the bank account, it begins in the mindset of multiplication. Thomas Edison wasn't born into wealth. Henry Ford didn't inherit billions. Walt Disney was bankrupt multiple times. But what they all shared was a dangerous level of belief, a conviction so unshakable that failure became irrelevant. They weren't chasing money, they were chasing mastery. And in the pursuit of mastery, wealth found them. Because wealth follows value, and value follows vision. Most people never build wealth because their vision ends at survival. They think in days, not decades. They're so busy avoiding discomfort that they never invest in the soil of their own growth. They tell themselves stories like, I'm just not good with money, or rich people are greedy, or it's not about the money, it's about happiness. And while that last phrase sounds noble, it's often a mask or shield for mediocrity, spoken to justify the absence of discipline. Let's be clear, money doesn't corrupt people, it reveals them. It amplifies what's already within. If you're generous without it, you'll be a force of good with it. If you're lazy without it, you'll be reckless with it. The issue isn't money, it's mindset. There are people who win the lottery and end up bankrupt in 5 years. And there are people who start from nothing, who turn a single idea into an empire that outlives them. The difference isn't income, it's identity. The wealthy don't just make money. They become the kind of person who attracts, multiplies, and sustains it. You can't build wealth with a poverty identity. You can't think scarcity and expect abundance. Your subconscious mind is the soil of your results. Whatever you plant there grows without judgment. If you plant doubt, you'll harvest hesitation. If you plant excuses, you'll harvest limitations. But if you plant purpose, discipline, and self-belief, you'll harvest wealth not just in dollars, but in destiny. Wealth is not an event. It's a mirror. It reflects your internal order, your pathians, your foresight, your emotional control, your ability to delay gratification. That's why most people fail to build it. Not because of the economy, not because of the government, not because of their boss, but because they've never mastered themselves. You can't attract wealth with the energy of fear. You can't create expansion while you're obsessed with preservation. The universe rewards those who think in terms of growth, not survival. Every wealthy person in history shared one dangerous quality: faith. Not blind faith, but disciplined faith, the kind that sees what isn't there yet and acts as though it already is. They live by the law of creation, As within, so without. Andrew Carnegie once said, "The man who dies rich dies disgraced." Why? Because he understood the ultimate purpose of wealth isn't accumulation, but contribution. The goal isn't to hoard abundance, it's to become abundance, to be the kind of person through whom value flows naturally, like rivers to the ocean. But before wealth flows to you, it must flow through you. And for that to happen, you must clear the mental blockages that keep most people trapped in scarcity. Fear of loss, fear of judgment, fear of failure. These are the invisible bars that imprison millions of potential millionaires. People who could have built something world-changing but instead built excuses to protect their comfort zones. If you study history, you'll notice something fascinating. The richest men and women weren't the most comfortable. They were the most uncomfortable. They walked into uncertainty willingly. They risked being misunderstood, ridiculed, and even ruined. But while the average person was busy avoiding risk, they were busy managing it. They understood something the masses ignore. Risk is not the enemy. Risk is simply the price of entry to the game of creation. And wealth, like freedom, must be earned by those brave enough to play. Wealth doesn't come to those who wish for it. It comes to those who prepare for it, who develop the mindset, the skills, and the character to handle it. Because abundance without discipline is destruction. Look at the countless stories of athletes, artists, and entrepreneurs who made millions and lost everything. The problem wasn't opportunity, it was unpreparedness. Their outer world grew faster than their inner world, and when the foundation cracked, everything collapsed. Wealth demands capacity. The capacity to think long-term, to delay gratification, to control emotions when markets crash, when people doubt, when plans fail. Because they will fail. But failure, to the wealthy mind, is date not death. When Edison's 10,000 experiments failed, he didn't see loss, he saw feedback. When Ford's first 2 companies went bankrupt, he didn't retreat. He refined. When Disney was fired for lacking creativity, he didn't quit, he doubled down on imagination. And in the ashes of their setbacks, they found the truth that most people never discover. Wealth is not built in moments of comfort. It is forged in moments of chaos. The poor mindset prays for easy days. The wealthy mindset trains for hard ones, because easy days build laziness. Hard days build strength, and strength, over time, compounds just like money. That's why the most important form of investment is not financial. It's mental. The wealthy invest in their beliefs, their routines, their environment. They surround themselves with people who elevate their thinking, not drain it. They read obsessively. They learn relentlessly. They refine constantly. Because they know what you become internally determines what you attract externally. If you want to change your wealth, you must first change your worth. Not your financial worth, but your internal sense of it. Because life doesn't pay you for effort. It pays you for value. And value doesn't come from activity, it comes from awareness. The awareness to see opportunity where others see risk. The awareness to create where others complain. The awareness to build systems where others build excuses. The average person spends their life working for money. The wealthy spend their life building systems that make money work for them. That's the rewiring. That's the shift. Thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more content to help you rewire your mindset for success. We'll see you in the next one.